There freedom was, and people lived who were quite different from the people on his side of the river. There time seemed to have stood still, as though the age of Abraham and his flocks had not yet passed. Without moving, Raskolnikov sat and looked, his eyes fixed upon the scene. Thought gave way to daydreams, to contemplation. He was not thinking of anything, but a kind of melancholy nagged and disturbed him. Suddenly Sonia appeared beside him. She had approached almost without being heard, and sat down at his side. It was quite early, and the morning chill had not yet lifted. She wore a shabby old burnous and her green shawl. There were still signs of illness on her face, which had sunken and grown thinner and paler. She gave him a happy, welcoming smile, but, as usual, held her hand out to him timidly. She always held her hand out to him timidly. Sometimes she didn't even hold it out at all, as if she were afraid he might reject it. He always seemed disgusted when he took her hand, always met her as though he were annoyed. And sometimes he remained stubbornly silent the whole time of her visit. Sometimes he terrified her, and she went away deeply grieved. But now their hands did not separate. He looked at her swiftly, said nothing, and let the gaze drop to the ground. They were alone. Nobody could see them. The guard had turned away. He did not know himself how it happened, but suddenly something seemed to seize him and hurl him to his feet. He wept and embraced her knees. At first she was terribly frightened, and her face turned completely pale. She jumped up and looked at him and shivered. But at the same time, at that very moment, she understood everything. A boundless joy illuminated her eyes. She understood. For her there was no longer any doubt he loved her. He loved her infinitely. At long last the moment had come.
We should not give up on people, because faith and love can lead a person to achieve ultimate redemption and transcendence.
Before the crime, I felt I was an extraordinary person and I would feel no guilt and remorse, but in reality it haunts me for years.
You must accept your suffering and redeem yourself by it. I will always forgive you, for lying is a harmless activity because it always leads to the truth.
I'm the person who murdered the old civil servant's widow and her sister Elizaveta that day. I did it with an axe, and I robbed them. I shall be brave and honest all the rest of my life, even though I'm a murderer.
We just wanted to make sure that before you go off to college, you understand that it's never too late to reach transcendence, and you should never give up on people.
Even my ex-girlfriend?
Well, you know you should never have dated in high school because you should never do that. But, yes, anyone. Raskolnikov and I, we were friends for a while, and we got through a lot of tough times, and we helped each other reach that level of transcendence, and now we are married and have you.
Have you ever read King Lear in high school?
I did in Mr. Burke's IBEP class.
Cordelia and Sonia are not alike because they all endure suffering with dignity.